So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to tell you my brand story. Okay? So we start out. I'm a recovering engineer. Yes, there is a 12-step program for that. When I graduated from Northwestern with my engineering degree, I went to work for the Borg, IBM. Yes, I was assimilated, resistance was futile. And I spent 22 years until in January of 2000, they screwed me on my pension and I broke free. I escaped. I went to work for a successful semiconductor startup, Agira. Well, we were acquired by the sister of the Borg, Lucent. And then on July 11th of 2002, I'm a big-time cyclist. I was riding down a hill at about 30 miles an hour. Unfortunately, there was a Toyota Corolla going the other direction, going about the same speed, and I hit head on. Now this is not a namby-pamby aluminum bicycle or a carbon fiber. It's a heavy-duty steel touring frame. I spent 5 days in the Brack Trauma Center. They had me walking on crutches in 3 days. I was back on a bike in 10 weeks, flying back to China in 4 months. That frame is bent in 4 places. It's collapsed. I don't show you the front wheel. Well, I broke a bunch of bones, but I had no internal injuries and no brain injuries I'm willing to admit to. The following year, I laid myself off. My first startup left us debt-free. I went off and taught high school math in an inner city high school for 2 years. Lots of funny stories. I was very successful. I could not do that and stay healthy. So the following year, I quit after 2 years. I went in, I did a stint at the Jewish Community Center building a corporate development program. Being a non-Jew, being the face of a Jewish organization is interesting. I relapsed. I went back to work for another startup, Life Size Communications. And after 2 years, we were acquired. It got really, really ugly. I eventually was put in an unethical position, and I quit in early 2011 to form Career Pivot, because I'm on my 7th career. And some people say I can't hold a job. And the idea here is I started Career Pivot primarily to work with baby boomers. I now work with also Gen Xers to make career transitions. So notice when I told you that story, I didn't tell you about much of what I did. In your LinkedIn profile, you have lots of places to tell you what you did. What I want you to know is who I am. What are my values? And that's where we want to translate that. So each of my career changes, by the way, have been what I refer to as half-step career changes. I had 1 foot in the old world, I had 1 foot in the new world, and there was always a relationship that took me across. In other words, I never did it alone. Quote I like is Jeff Bezos' brand statement. Your brand is what people say about you when you're not in the room. So one of the key pieces is, what do people say about you? So one of the things I do with my clients, I say, go to 3 friends who know you from work and 3 friends who know you from outside of work, and say, give me 3 to 5 words or phrases that describe me. And I almost guarantee you will be surprised. Number 1, you'll say, wow, you think that about me? You see me that way? I know I am, but I don't think anybody sees that. Or, you see me that way? Really? One of the challenges, none of us, and I say none of us, see ourselves the way other people see us. And if you want to do an authentic brand, you got to get the other side. Now, the first thing that people do on the LinkedIn profile, what's the first thing they look at? The picture. So, pictures bring up emotion. Okay, I show you those pictures. Does emotion come up? One of those politicians I know you can't stand, right? right? Yeah. Well, I tried to pick on both sides, you know. Emotions come up. So what emotions do people feel when they see your picture? Well, you have some control over that. So, this gentleman, it just came out on the LinkedIn talent blog, did a study. He used 6 pictures and he changed them out, and then he measured the results, how he used each one. So take a look at those. Who likes number 1? Okay, 2, 3, 4, 5. How about 6? Okay, the one that brought him the most views, actually the most business, was 6. Why?
It looks like he's somewhere doing something important.
Bingo! He's on a main 10 stage. He's a keynote speaker. It's the background. So, the key piece about being the background is the background actually is really important. It really is. So, this is my headshot. Who's from Austin here? Okay, so where was that picture taken? The 360 bridge. Now, was I really in front of the 360 bridge? No, it was done on a green screen. And I have multiple, so the challenge, and most of you ladies know this, most of us guys do not, is when you're gonna do this, if you're gonna have it done on a green screen, pick clothes that will go with your background. I have an image consultant. I have 0 taste. I pick none of my clothes. So you pick and I actually have 2 different backgrounds. I also have a concrete background and a wood grain background, and I use those in different places. When I talked at the IEEE Electrical Engineering Conference, I put the concrete background. For South by Southwest, I gave them this one because I wanted them to know, people to know, I'm from Austin. Oh, cool. Okay? Now, headshots are rectangular. What is the shape of your picture on LinkedIn or Facebook or anywhere? What was that? It's square. So one of the things you have to be careful is when you crop the picture, does the background still function the way you want it? In other words, you may have this great background, but once you crop it, if it doesn't work, so you have to think ahead of time. And again, I highly recommend spending some money on a professionally done picture. And by the way, one of the questions is always asked, particularly from women, how often should I get a new picture taken? And the answer usually is every time you change your hairstyle, which no women like. Okay, the second, this is my buddy Amy. This was just taken with an iPhone. Notice she's not looking straight into the camera, right? She's got a nice head tilt. So, number 1, find somebody, in other words, don't do a selfie. Find someone who actually knows how to use the camera, knows something about lighting, camera angles, someone who actually can take a flattering picture of you. Again, in my handouts, I've got a video done by a gentleman on in the LinkedIn brand link. There's a whole set of there's a video on head tilt that a gentleman out of LA did. It's really good. Okay, the next. This is my buddy Nando. Nando's cool. Nando's a creative. Okay, if I showed this picture to the CEO of IBM, who, by the way, I went to college with, Ginny Romney, what do you think she'd think? Right? He's a creative. That's not his audience. So one of the things I want you to do is test the picture out with the people you want to, what do they think? who's the audience you're going after? Okay, and by the way, do not over Photoshop it. I've had people where I had one picture of a guy in his 50s, he looked like he was in his 30s, and I didn't recognize him. Now the last thing, this is Scott. He's a sales guy. Where's the camera? Above, and he's looking up. Does that make him approachable? A lot of people will find that it's, you know, and so one of the things I want you to look at is the camera angle you want to use. Yes, looking up is typically considered to be approachable. You know, one of the things you don't want to be doing is looking down. You want to be looking to the side. What's the angle you want to use? Again, this is where, well, my wife's a massage therapist. She used the same photographer I did, and they did all kinds of different angles with her for her website. Okay, we're cool with this? Okay, so remember your picture, what do you want it to say about you? So we're going to move on to the headline. Headline's the second thing people look at. By default, it will say title at company name. Barf. So the headline is 120 characters long. Use all of it. Now, this is my buddy John. He happens to work for the federal government. Notice what he's done is he's taken keywords and separated them out with asterisks, with stars. I don't like that. What I use is the vertical bars to separate. The vertical bar, you'll see on the next slide. I prefer that. But I like John's, one of the things he's done, is notice at the end, he puts his phone number. Now, the key piece here is, I don't recommend people doing that anymore. By the way, what I tell people is go get a Google Voice number.
Or can you put your Gmail email?
Yes, yep. So, the key piece here is in your summary section. Tell them how to contact you. Make it easy. I just got an email from a buddy of mine, Jennifer, who she said she got a call from somebody, a new client, who just simply said, "Oh yeah, I saw your phone number in there. Guy just called her." And so the point here is make it very easy to reach out to you. Now, the two other ways you can do it, this is my buddy Jason Alba. He happens to own jibberjobber.com, which is a job CRM. Notice he kind of puts his mission statement in there. Or you look at mine and notice that it's, I put my URL in there. I tell you something about myself. Again, I separate it with vertical bars.
For job hunting, would you recommend using your previous title?
No, wouldn't. I would be looking at a job title that you're looking for and the phrases that will make you most likely be found. No, put the city where you want to relocate to.
You don't think that helps advertising?
No, because what will happen is no one will talk to you if you don't. By the way, do not put your address on your resume.
Why not?
Number one, you can be geographically profiled and eliminated. Do not put they do not.
In your city?
Nope, they do not need that on your resume. I have a client in New Jersey who was profiled and because they didn't think she'd commute. You do not need to put, they don't need that. Now, the last thing I want to tell you about is your LinkedIn summary. The summary is 2,000 characters long. Use all of it. This is where you write your brand story, which is 4 to 5 paragraphs. Now, this is a class example. This is a good buddy of mine. And he writes, well-educated and well-rounded professional with international experience and background. And boring. Okay, This gentleman is Uwe Blab. Now, you women probably don't know who he is. By the way, Uwe is 7 feet 2 inches tall. He played for Bobby Knight at Indiana. He played in the NBA for 6 years. He played for the German national team in 2 Olympics. What's the first thing you're going to ask him when you meet him? Did you play basketball? Well, that's part of his brain. Yeah, he's going, it's old news. The answer is, no, it's not. And he has, because a lot of his basketball shapes who he is today. And so I've been trying to convince him to write his brand story. He currently works for Cala Vista, managing remote development teams all over the world. So the point here is, tell me your story. Now, I open up my story with a strong headline, right? I've had an eclectic career, to say the least. What I want is an opening that this is newspaper writing. I want to grab you. I want you to read the rest. This is not like writing the top of your resume. By the way, you're going to write it in first person. It's your story. And again, my goal here is to say who I am and not what I've done. You got lots of places to tell that. Now, who is the worst person to write your story? We all will suck at writing our own story. Period. So what I do with a lot of clients is we will come up with a theme. Again, and if you'll follow the one I've got, if you go to my website and just look for LinkedIn brand, what you'll find is I have 3 ways of writing the stories, and then we turn it over to someone else. I've had very good luck with adult daughters. I've had good luck with brothers and sisters. In other words, someone who knows you well, who will, by the way, add some flair that you won't use. Okay? So, with that, any questions?